fighting climate change
In 2016, candidates spent just 5 minutes and 27 seconds talking about climate change on the debate stage. And a lot of that has looked like this.
I think it's real.
I did not.
Science is real.
I do not say that.
And I think it's important that
for those of us who were paying a lot of attention in the 2016 debates, the presidential election, it was pretty depressing to see how much climate was talked about. We were seeing the beginnings of this planetary emergency, and our political establishment was completely ignoring it.
But that could be changing. 2020 candidates and climate activists are now calling for an entire primary debate on climate change.
If we don't solve the climate crisis, in a sense, nothing else matters.
This is Washington Governor Jay Inslee. He's running for president as the self-proclaimed climate candidate. In April, he started calling for a climate debate.
It's very difficult to think that we can solve that problem with kind of bumper sticker answers. It demands a full-scale debate.
Now, Inslee's not alone. Many Democratic-leaning voters want to see a climate debate, and frontrunner candidates are signing on to the idea too. Even if it's just among Democrats, a climate debate could have big implications for the general election.
Presidential campaigns have a long history of candidates who weren't going to be the nominee raising issues that forced the other folks to at least take a public position. Kucinich was that kind of candidate.
You can work to settle your differences without committing the young men and women to war unless it's absolutely necessary.
Senator Clinton, you were involved in that question. I want to give you a chance to respond. 30 seconds.
When televised presidential debates first started, there were only 3 main networks. That's changed, but debates are still a big cultural moment.
And the debates are one of the clearest ways that America gets to understand what the political priorities of the person who will hold the most powerful office in the land will have.
But the Democratic National Committee, the organization that calls the shots in the primary debate, says it's not going to happen. So why is that? Well, in 2016, some Democrats felt the DNC was unfairly favoring one candidate. When Tom Perez took over as DNC chair in 2017, one of his goals was to restore faith in a fair primary process. He's arguing a climate debate might be seen as the DNC favoring the climate candidate.
They are very worried about being labeled as a non-honest broker in the campaign.
It also kind of comes down to how the DNC sees climate change as one of many issues for a future president to address. And they argue that there's just not enough time to hold debates on every issue. But debate supporters see climate change not as one issue, but a platform that impacts all the other issues, like public health or national security.
They called it a pet issue. Well, this is not a pet issue. The survival of the planet is not a pet issue.
The committee's warning that any candidate that participates in a separate climate debate won't be allowed back on the main debate stage in the future. Though, candidates are still free to participate in town halls, like MSNBC's one on the Green New Deal in March. But town halls just don't have the same agenda-setting power as debates. The DNC is promising they'll feature climate change more prominently, but many are still pushing for more.
We don't trust that these party apparati or this process is going to actually discuss the climate crisis to the extent necessary. It needs its own time, and that's why we've been calling for a debate.
Given everything that's happening in the world, climate change will be more of an issue this time. But then again, the bar is pretty low. So Jay Inslee has recently been getting a lot of attention in The Onion, and to do our due journalistic diligence, we asked him to respond to one of the articles.
So I am so honored by being satirized by The Onion. It is really the only thing better than the Nobel Peace Prize. I'll just read the last sentence of this. At press time, Inslee was seen breaking free from the thick ropes tied around his body, diving into the ocean and swimming to shore surrounded by a pack of several loyal dolphins. End quote. The reality is, though, I'm actually will be accompanied by my friends in the union movement who want to build electric cars, and IBW members who want to make wind turbines, and machinists who want to make batteries. That's how I swim to shore. That's how I intend to be in the White House.